Welcome everybody to our meeting this month. So glad to see so many people here. We're going to call the meeting to order. This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act and is open to the media and public. Notices were duly posted and the meeting was advertised in the Hunterdon County Democrat and Courier News. Formal action may be taken. Can we have the flag salute, man?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Cassidy?
Here.
Mrs. Fiore?
Here.
Mr. Lopes?
Here.
Mrs. Benser? Mrs. Bogorski?
Here.
Mrs. Rad?
Here.
Mrs. Ryan? Mrs. DePinto?
Here.
Mr. Rizzo?
Here.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our April 8th Board of Education meeting. It's so nice to see everyone here tonight. We have some recognitions for all of you. This year, students from Hollenbrook School participated in the New Jersey Destination Imagination State Tournament. Destination Imagination is a tournament that requires students to engage in research, presentation skills, collaboration, quick thinking, teamwork, creativity, and communication skills. The Hollenbrook School team named the 6 Amazing Girls and a Mysterious Mark took second place, and the team named the 7 Dwarfs But Taller took first place. A very special thanks to Mrs. Vance and Ms. Mahoney for their leadership of our teams. I'd like to ask Ms. Mahoney and Ms. Vance to come up to the podium and assist me in calling students' names and presenting certificates. So we're going to hand out some certificates to everybody. Takes me a minute to get places these days.
Sure. Thank you for having us here and for recognizing these students. They have been engaged in this process since late October when we had tryouts. We needed to see some quick problem solving, good communication skills, some improv acting, and some commitment to team dynamics in order to make these choices for our team. And we have 14 students who have been with us since our practices started in November. They've engaged in a lot of research, a lot of practice, and a lot of time getting to know each other and know how to communicate effectively in a very short amount of planning time. So they had some stuff they had to research, but every time we would pick things out of a hat, they had 2 minutes to plan, and then they had to present a 5-minute performance. So they have done incredibly hard work, and we always say to them, our time at the tournament is your time to shine and to show off all of these skills that you have learned, and our wish is that you are most proud of the performance that you give on the day of the tournament, and we are very proud to say that they were the most proud of their performances on that day, and they were recognized for all of their good work. So thank you very much for having us here, and thank you very much for being with us this season.
So Ms. Mahoney is going to call your names. When she calls your name, you can come up to us. I will hand you your certificate. You can shake my hand, and then stay up here so that we can get a picture. Most importantly, for your parents to get a picture. Okay?
Then you're going to send them to me.
That's right.
That's right. So we are going to first recognize the 6 amazing girls and a mysterious mark. Summer Doherty. Gardella. Allison Gutierrez. Shloka Medella. Mia Mlenek. Mark Spivey. And Addison Stokes. And our first place team, the Seven Dwarfs But Taller, also got a special recognition at the tournament. They got what is called the Renaissance Award, which recognized some innovative and creative problem solving, which is an award they don't have to give out, and they chose to this team. So special recognition there too. So the Seven Dwarfs But Taller. Lila Greenberg. Alex Konachuk. Fiona Kurtzo. Grace Lynch. Eliza Marsh. Karina Rajiv. And Lennon Stickle. Motion?
That's all right. I didn't. Boys and girls, congratulations. Thank you so much for representing Reddington Schools in this amazing competition. I think I've heard that you already had pizza and cupcakes, or else I would tell you to go for ice cream now. You are welcome. Everyone is welcome to stay. We're going to continue with our board meeting in just a moment. I do want to ask if Mr. Rizzo or any members of the board want to recognize the students or anything.
Yes, let's have for thank you for coming and congratulations on your awards. You did a great job.
You're all welcome to stay. We're going to continue with our agenda, but feel free to go home. Appreciate it. Enjoy your evening. Don't they want to hear about our strategic plan? They already did pizza just before this. Okay. Okay, so they're planning their celebration.
Got the We're participating.
No, I'm talking to Dave. I'll hold your PowerPoint. I need to bring it. Thank you so much. Dan, would it be better for you to have the Google slide deck? Would that be easier to flip? This is okay? For the second item on the superintendent's report, I wanted to review with the Board of Education our strategic plan summary. There it is. I can't believe that it's been 5 years already that we've accomplished a great deal of our strategic work. We sat in this room in January of 2020, identifying a strategic direction for the district, and we developed 3 goals with a group of stakeholders. And tonight, we want to take a little bit of time to summarize some of the work that's been accomplished over the course of the past 5 years. Annually, part of my goals every year have been part of focusing on the strategic plan. So tonight is really just going to be a brief presentation to update the board on where we've come and summarizing everything that we've accomplished over the past 5 years. I've invited Ms. Pouch, Dr. DeRosa, and Mr. Tumalo as well to present tonight. When we did the strategic plan, we identified chairs for each one of the 3 goals. Ms. Pouch chaired the inquisitive learning goal, Dr. DeRosa chaired the partnerships goal, and Mr. Tumalo chaired the social awareness goal with a faculty member as well. A lot's changed in 5 years. Some of those faculty are no longer with us. Retirements, resignations, things happen. So I've just asked the 3 administrators to come tonight. Our 3 strategic goals included inquisitive learning, partnerships, and social awareness. They read as follows. Our inquisitive learning goal was to create and establish an inquiry-based framework that values interest-driven learning environment. Learners will individually and collaboratively focus on identifying, analyzing, and solving problems as inquisitive members of our community. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Pouch to talk a little bit more about our inquisitive learning. Sarah, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to come. I mean, I could, but it'll take a lot longer if I go.
Thank you.
There you are.
Good evening, everyone. As Dr. Hart mentioned, I'm Sarah Pouch, the supervisor of math, science, and technology, and I had the privilege of chairing the inquisitive learning part of our strategic goals. In doing this, it was broken down into 4 sub-goals, and the first one was simply to raise awareness. As was mentioned, we had committees that worked with us, with a group of teachers, and our first meeting was in the first week of March of 2020. And then promptly less than a week later, our school closed down, as well as the rest of the country. So it became the challenge of, well, how do we get this message out of what we're going to be working on? And I think one of the things that we're most proud of is how much we were able to accomplish, even in the midst of trying to figure out how to communicate that in a different way when we weren't meeting in person and we needed to find other ways to deliver this message. And that first sub-goal was geared towards that, with simply raising awareness of what do we mean when we say inquiry learning or being inquisitive. And we worked very hard to send out information to the parents, to the staff, to the students. We were able to do that through our parent newsletters from the different buildings, as well as including information in our staff meetings monthly at each building, and then using the screens that were available within the buildings, whether it was in the hallways with information cycling through, or at the middle school or Hollenbrook. Sometimes they have slideshows going during lunchtime. So we took those opportunities to deliver some of this information to students at that time.
We were able to also have parent night presentations so that we could also get that message out to parents as well. One of our highlights was having John Spencer as a keynote address for one of the opening days of school. He's a real guru in this area and is a leader in how to encourage students to be inquisitive and what that might look like in your classroom. We were also able to do our own in-house presentations as teacher academies and had 129 participants, teacher participants in our 10 classes over the last few years, and that was just for this first cycle. Here are some of what we were able to push out to students and parents and teachers, talking about that students should be asking questions just as often, if not more, than when they're answering questions. And that inquiry can fall into different categories, whether it's a goal or making change. Other ideas that we were able to communicate were the ideas for inquiry-based learning, and that it's not just creating something, but it's also asking questions about what can I learn, what change can I make, what difference can I make, what are some of the things that I do that I love. As well as letting students know that an inquisitive student has many forms and many ways to look at those things, whether they're capturing their learning digitally or on paper, if they're finding different projects to do, and then how do they share that out to the larger community. Our second sub-goal was, again, if we're asking students to pursue something and ask questions about what they're interested in, we definitely want to be able to, we need to know what their interests are. So we looked at creating a bank of interest inventories for students so that teachers would be able to get to know their students more, and stressing the importance of making those connections with their students as well. The inventories had a wide range, all the way from down to pictures and infographics for our youngest students to simply circle, and then all the way up to our middle school, where the middle schoolers were starting to identify for their teachers what learning styles that best fit them, so that the teachers could have the biggest impact on their instruction. These interest inventories were discussed at faculty meetings. We were able to create a bank that the teachers have access to, and we also were able to run some teacher academy classes over the years, and it's just kind of become part of what all of the teachers do now. We don't really have to advertise it anymore. It's just ingrained in what we're doing. For goal 3, we wanted to have a culture where teacher inquiry was inspired. And this was really spearheaded by Dr. Hart along with Dr. Devona Steinbeck, where we were able to have cohorts of teachers where they pursued their own inquiry research on something they felt would have the most impact on their instruction, something they were interested in pursuing with their students, and increasing their pedagogy. So we were able, those teachers have had their some of their findings in publications. They've done presentations. They've turnkeyed quite a bit to each other, so that each cohort, as they finished through a cycle, brought on new members and new teachers to take a look at that. Hunter Central heard about what we were doing and asked if their teachers could be involved as well. So we have a group of teachers at Hunter Central who were pursuing similar projects. Currently, our coaches are continuing this effort with the practice of teacher inquiry, and it's either an individual, a grade level, and they happen to be working with all of the teachers at Hollenbrook this year, where the teachers decided as a grade level they wanted to pursue specific topics with the help of our coaches, which has been great. We've been able to provide more information about this to teachers during 11 different teacher academy classes, where we've had 93 participants over the years. So 93 of our staff members have been involved in this process. And we also made information and resources available during the in-service days so that everyone had access to this. Goal number 4 is our student passion projects and students pursuing learning about their own interests. This has probably become our most publicized part of our goal. So many of you have already seen some of the fashion projects firsthand, whether it was family nights for third grade, during board tours, or at board presentations over the years, as well as attending the civics presentation over at the middle school, are some of the highlights. We started rolling this out kind of one year after another, so it wasn't just dropped on everybody and kind of a ta-da. So we started that first year with our third grade students, and just having them have a follow-up, picking a topic of interest and doing some research on it, and then ending with that idea of, well, what do you wonder now? Where does this go? Kind of building that idea of just because you had a question and you researched it and you found a possible answer or you got more information, that just generates more, it should just generate more questions. So we had the third graders start there, and then that grew over the years as well. By the time those third graders became fifth graders, they used their passion project during their writing units for research. And they were able to highlight that at different board meetings as well as during the board tours. And then finally, as our students rolled up into 8th grade, we had a focus on the civics projects, where students pursued a topic of interest of their choice and then have presented it during those presentations over at the middle school. We didn't have quite as many teacher academies on this because it was geared towards the students, but we did have a couple of classes for teachers in the other grade levels. If you didn't happen to be in 3rd, 5th, or 8th grade, we also wanted to make sure that all of the staff was aware of what we were working on, as well as having that information during the in-service days. So we have a couple of pictures here from our different passion projects that have occurred over the years. And I think we're all just so proud of what the students and the teachers have been able to accomplish with this goal in the last 5 years. And it's been very exciting and rewarding to be a part of that. I will turn things over to Dr. DeRosa to tell you about partnerships.
Hi, thank you for having me. As Ms. Pouch said, this has been an amazing 5 years. Back when we began and we talked in this very room, like Dr. Hart said, about the strategic plan, when we talked about partnerships, together as a group, we said teachers are already connecting children with so many great partnerships. Is there a way that we can stop as a district and curate a directory so we know what we have and we know what connections we're already fostering? So our partnerships goal has 4 sub-goals also. The idea for our partnerships was to curate a bank of local, regional, national, and global partnerships that can enhance learning and be of service to others. We'll talk about that in a moment. So what we did in the beginning years, at the K-3 level, we piloted it. And then people on the committee, like my co-chair was Alyssa Bulow, and subsequent years, she tried to get buy-in here at Hollenbrook with the 4-5 level. And then Will Daly was also on the committee, and you can see that he takes everything to the next level with his civics program. So over the course of 5 years, we really had the right people on the committee to try to get buy-in and to know what was going on in their respective buildings. So we began with up here Google Forms, and we really just surveyed teachers, like what partnerships are you doing, what do you already have connected to your current areas of study, and who do you bring in as guest speakers, who do you seek out. And while we talked about that, this was our first sub goal, but our third sub goal was about field trips, because we talked about sometimes partnerships visit the school, but we also go out into the community and engage in field trips. But as Ms. Couch said, a couple of days later, we're all sent home. So we were thinking, how can we keep the good work alive and make forward progress with our strategic plan? So it turned into creating a bank of virtual field trips, because we were home for most of the time, and then we came back in a hybrid fashion when we pivoted. So we began asking teachers through our Google Forms, what virtual field trips can you embed into the curriculum to enhance learning for students? So the data, and as board members, you could probably click on some of the links embedded in this, but the data was raw, and we put questions in the Google form on virtual field trips, and field trips having teachers rate the usefulness of them. So we had like lists and lists of teacher entries, and then the good work of Jody Rearig over one summer. She looked at it, found redundancies, and created, and you'll see it up here, and you can click on it in your presentation, the partnerships directory. And that's where we combined, if you can see it from there, one column has partnerships and the other column has connected field trips by grade level and content area. So we really are proud that we were able to take all teacher contributions and put it into a user-friendly format for teachers. It is a work in progress. Just the other day at my faculty meeting, we were in it making sure the links still work, because sometimes links are no longer working, and we feel that if we want to keep it current, we have to continue to revisit it and build in timely faculty meetings for teachers to take a look at it, or even remove things they don't want or add new things that they think are helpful, and that might, if we have to remove something from a category, because this is a good curricular resource, we will want to try to find links or other ideas in field trips to replace it that are just as good, if not better. The next page has some pictures of partnerships. We have our Rutgers Master Gardeners on the top left. Hunterdon Central brings their play to us, so that was a great experience. Down in the left, we have the Harlem Wizards. Of course, our men in blue, the Reddington Police, are always partnering with us. And then on the right-hand side, we partnered 2 years ago with One Voice from Flemington. And it's a wellness and anti-drug awareness group that they came to White House School, and I think they're going to Three Bridges soon in Holbrook to show an age-appropriate message. At our level, they don't really talk about anti-drugs, it's about making wise choices, and they have a new mascot called Albert, the Wise Owl. So our kids really like that. The next goal involved, and this was pretty important during COVID because it was about getting resources to families in need. So if you look at this slide, our school nurse and counselor did create an ultimate resource guide that you can look at, but they had one before that in its infancy where we were trying to find resources, how to connect people to the internet and get food to families if they were food insecure. So we ended up having a small resource bank for COVID, and then when we came back to school, we integrated the things that could still be helpful to families in need into a bigger directory. And if you take a look at it, we break it down by categories. It's pretty robust. It's on at least our school nurse website, but I know Mr. Tumalo had the school counselors, because Mr. Smith was a big contributor to this. We shared it with all school counselors so they have access to resources if families are in need, they can point them in the right direction. I talked about virtual field trips, and then our fourth sub-goal is really goes hand in hand with what Mrs. Pouch was saying. Let me put one more. It's about our passion projects and what we thought we could do to enhance learning for students and to embrace the partnerships we have. We had all children try to partner or find an expert through their research process. So we found a way to combine their projects and research with our partnerships. And the directory did help to try and match students and their topic with experts in the field. Okay. And here are some pictures. You did see that picture before, but they do take it seriously. If you look on the right-hand side, a student actually brought his race car to the cafeteria. We got it in there, so he was passionate about it. And now I will turn it over to Mr. Tumalo, social awareness.
As Mr. Tumalo comes up, I just want to point out for the board too, even internally, I think Dr. DeRosa, Ms. Pouch, and Mr. Tumalo would say too, we have so much more school-to-school connection now too, where middle schoolers are visiting Hollenbrook to do presentations. Hollenbrook students are visiting Three Bridges and White House. Three Bridges and or middle school goes to Three Bridges and White House. And in years past, I think White House and Three Bridges came to Betsy Freeman's class and did a whole bunch of Earth Day activities. It's so cool that we have the inter-school connections as well, and kids are able to go back to White House and Three Bridges or bring knowledge to different grade levels. So not just within schools, but among all of the schools. Please, Mr. Tumalo.
Sure. Hi, everybody. So I'm here to present about our social awareness goal. I co-chaired it with Mr. Smith, who works really closely together with a team of teachers that were passionate about the work. So the goal really, I'll just read it to you. I know you can read it, but it's nice to hear it too. Our learners will feel connected, valued, and secure in digital and non-digital learning environments cultivated by a shared sense of community. Every individual will develop skills that promote an awareness of self and others, as well as the environment, including the ability to understand the impact of their decisions. So while the goal focuses on social awareness, it really does encompass all the 5 competencies by CASTLE: the self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills. So we have five goals. The first sub-goal was to really enhance parent and community education about what is SEL and what does it look like here in the district in Bennington, right? There's a lot of different definitions. So how do we define it and what does it look like and what does it look like in classrooms? So we try to increase that awareness and understanding, providing resources, offering some events that focused on SEL specifically. We offered 5 virtual parent nights that were also student run as well. We had student teachers that came in and from each building and offered some training, which was really nice. And they talked about from their experience, what does it look like? What does self-awareness look like to them? How do they define it? So really just trying to engage the parents. We offered webinars as well. We worked we tapped in with some teachers in each grade level and tried to create a bank of resources that other teachers can look at. Okay, so what does it look like in this classroom if this teacher is teaching responsible decision making, right? What are some examples? And that was really nice to help with new teachers coming in so that they understood what does it look like for the district, what does it look like in classrooms, and all of that is on our website as well. We started podcasts, we kind of got away from that, but that was something that was spearheaded by Adam Connolly, who left our district, but he was a really big part of that initiative at the middle school. For sub-goal 2, was really about building and increasing student mental health supports, right? So as we know, coming out of COVID, there was a lot of increase and for that support for the mental health of students and staff as well, right? So we looked at specific programming. That's where we brought in the CAP program, Child Assault Prevention, Teen CAP in grade 8. We offered it for grade 5 and grade 3, and we're continuing that to this day. We brought in AVIDM for grades 2, which is, it stands for I've Got Your Back. It's a program that was started in a high school out in the Midwest because one of the students at the high school committed suicide. So we brought that in on how can we train students and kind of teach students to find those trusted adults in their lives, right, in school, out in the community, and also how to identify when they need help. What does that look like for them? It's a really great program. And it's we connected that with partnering with Ms. Pouch as well, connecting it into the health curriculum as a support service, as a support resource. That's in there. Also many counseling department meetings. So that's when we started to really have our monthly department meetings as a counseling department to discuss what are we seeing, what are the trends that we're seeing, to kind of make sure that we're really keeping this at the forefront of the conversation. Sub-goal 3, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we looked at again, one of the things that came out of the pandemic was just access, right? Noticing that how, how are we making sure that we are offering that every student in our district can access supports and have an educational, the same educational experience. So really, that was a collaborative effort from the leadership team. We had 2 consultants come in for the district to work with us for 2 years in the summer. And we really kind of dug into different areas in our curriculum, within the school environment, the school system. We looked at policy, we looked at, right, Dr. Harvey, policy, we looked at facilities, we talked about curriculum, and then we created from there transportation, technology, and we from there created short and long-term plan of action of how can we again look at access, making sure that our students can have the same experience. That was a really good experience that we had. Sub-goal 4 was establishing an MTSS, multi-tiered system of support at the middle school. And this was really important because again, at least we're seeing our, the student numbers at the counseling office was just increasing, and they had such an influx of need, of students that really just needed support with their mental health. So we created this multi-tiered system of support. Tier 1 was universal, that the whole school gets this education. Tier 2 is identifying about 10 to 15% of the student population that needs a little bit more support on top of what they're already getting in class. And then you have your Tier 3, which we brought in a mental health, an outside mental health professional that was funded through ESSER funds. And that person was working grades 6 to 8 with about maybe 20 students that really just needed intensive school-based counseling. And we came up with a system for referring students. We created a document, a multi-tiered system support document. It was a lot of work that we put into that. The second piece was focusing on the framework of Leader in Me. The whole staff, under the support of Mr. Charleston, we purchased the book for the whole staff and did a lot of professional development through faculty meeting time on how can we implement some of the tenets within Leader in Me into the classroom. So that was really great work. So just to show you the tiered system of support here, again, like I said, Tier 1 is for all students, and that really does reach about 80 to 90% of the population. And then you have your Tier 2, which is 10 to 15%, which is more of like one-on-one support, student check-ins, school counselor support, maybe some the BCBA, behavioral supports coming in, child study team. And then you have your Tier 3, which was for our school-based counselor, which now we have, we've hired a person full-time, Ms. Balandi, who is with us providing that support for our students. We're really proud of that. And then our last sub-goal is based on sustainability. So again, this was a partnership between all the chairs as well as the principals to really work together to become, recognizing that, embracing that sustainability and becoming digital citizenship, focus on digital citizenship, and that shared responsibility. And again, all 4 schools had achieved silver status, green ribbon status as well. That was worked through the Green Committee, and then collaboration with the township as well. Any questions? Thank you so much. Here's a picture of that as well. Just or photos of that.
I'll take it.
Thanks, Doctor. Yeah, appreciate it.
So our strategic goals came from surveys that were sent to faculty, parents, students, certificated, non-certificated staff back in 2019. And then a focus group happened here in this room to develop all of these goals and sub-goals. So we sought to recreate that survey. I actually kept copies of the 2019 survey, and we recreated and asked some of the same questions in anticipation that we moved the needle here with our three goals. So some of the highlights that we saw, this is from the faculty, and you'll see from the responses that we summarized here from the faculty, is that we've really started to promote exactly what our strategic goals sought to promote: intellectual curiosity, perseverance among students, collaboration among students, as evidenced by the awards tonight. We clearly hold high expectations for our students. Now more than ever, we use data to inform our decision making when it comes to devising instruction. Dr. DeRosa talked about networks of supports for students. Those handbooks that we have now connecting our students with the community and resources out there are tangible documents that we have now that show that we really want to bring networks of our community in for our parents, especially those in need. We support partnerships not only on a local level, but on a state level and even a national level. We have access through virtual field trips to visit places we never thought we could visit before. A lot of support for student social well-being, and then climate and culture of the school is positive. The parent survey highlights, parents really responded. It's funny, when I think about the faculty, so much has changed with the faculty over 5 years. It was really difficult for us to make a one-to-one comparison because of the teachers who have retired or those that have resigned, or for other reasons. The faculty has changed in the past 5 years. Our parents really haven't as much. They're here for 5 years. Maybe they were in kindergarten, and now they're in 5th grade or 4th grade, or maybe they were in 6th grade, and they have a younger child coming through. Parents were incredibly positive when they responded to the survey about the strategic work. So there's been a lot that we've done that I believe parents are noticing as a district in promoting a place that's nurturing and kind and caring, a place that cares about all learners, providing students with access, connecting children to the world beyond just Reddington, as even evidenced by what Mr. Daly does on an annual basis. That Reddington teachers are committed lifelong learners. Children are happy to attend school. Innovation, creativity, these things are supported in our classrooms. So parents really responded very, very positively. And then our students as well. We gave the survey to students grades 5 through 8. Students are comfortable. They have an adult that they trust, they talk to at school. They're taught the importance now of having curious and open minds. They're treated with respect and kindness. Teachers take an interest in them as people and as learners. They understand their classmates, their differences. What we're seeing is, mapping some of our surveys from back in 2019 to then asking some of those questions again, we're seeing that we've made some progress, that things are moving forward. But we know we're not done. This is a nice summary of 5 years of work, but as we presented the budget to the Board of Education for next year, the administration is planning to engage in this work again. We're not finished. They're in the surveys. We see some continued areas of focus. We want our faculty members to have input into the curriculum. We want them to have a major role in designing curriculum. We want to make sure that we focus on some of those academic areas, that students are taught even the value of more community service, that we explore more ideas, we give students the opportunities to tap into even more interests, and we create that time into the day. That we create academic progress monitoring for students. We let them know how they're doing. I know at the middle school, at least in math, Ms. Pouch and I have talked about goal meetings with students. They know where they are, they know what their goals are, they know what they're working on. So we're planning next year to engage with someone to come in and do the same thing, re-administer some surveys, pull some focus groups, have some community forums, and work with our district to identify what the focus is going to be for the next 5 years. It doesn't necessarily mean we abandon all of these goals. Maybe we tweak them, maybe we change them, maybe we refocus them in some way. But I think gathering all of the stakeholder input, looking at some of the surveys that we've done from this year and the work that we've accomplished will help lead us in the next direction for the next 5 years. So it's been a 5-year journey. It's been great work, and I'll open it up to the board to ask any questions if they have any, and if any of the presenters want to add anything in or answer any questions, you certainly can. But I'll open up to the board. Yeah, Ms. Cassidy.
Hi. I want to say I probably am in a unique position as a parent in the district who My oldest graduated 8th grade in 2020, so just when you were initiating this, and I have 2 more who are now in 5th and 8th grade. So I've borne witness to the passion projects, the partnership with the guest speakers. I was unaware of some of the mental health support that you've instituted here, but I could tell you my oldest benefited from that. And I have personally noticed a massive difference in the education in our district and the type of learning and the encouragement to follow their passions and explore their interests and work independently. And it's wonderful to see this 5-year retrospective of looking back and seeing what the difference was, because it is noticeable. So I wanted to thank you all for your work.
Thank you for your comments. Any other questions from the board? Yeah, Mr.
No,
Pinto.
I've enjoyed the civics presentations and the passion project presentations, and I think we're giving the students amazing skills for presenting and getting up in front of adults. And when we go there, they're not nervous to speak to an audience, and I think that's a skill that's just incredible at such a young age. And I think that's really, I hope it continues, and I've really enjoyed coming to those programs.
Thank you very much. And I think too, even if we set some new goals for the next 5 years, I don't know if that necessarily means that we abandon the goals that we've achieved here. One of the crowning achievements of this strategic work is I think it's embedded, it's ingrained. If you talk to a faculty member about what our strategic goals are, I think they can tell you what our 3 strategic goals are, and that doesn't always happen. I think this has become part of the culture of just who we are. So even if we do set some different goals, I don't know if we abandon the work that we've done. I think we've come so far. Now it's just maintaining this good work and picking up the next set of good work too. Yeah.
I just want to recognize also seeing the district over the years, and I want to recognize the staff and your leadership in this, because it's a tremendous amount of work on top of what they're already doing.
Yeah.
And the coaches or leaders, I don't know the exact title for the team leads for each of the sub-roles and stuff, but I mean, just huge difference in where the district was, where we are now, and it's just wanted to commend the work and say thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Anybody else? Yeah, Mr.
Yeah, I
Williams.
just wanted to say, I can tell that all the projects, all the teachers and the staff and the supervisors is done with passion, and it's not just like I'm checking off a box. So I appreciate that coming from them.
Yeah.
I can tell they really love their job, and I appreciate it.
We try our best to avoid the check the box kind of thing, right? We talk about this in leadership meetings, I think, and Ms. Pouch, I think I say it to you all the time too, like we have to do it with purpose, like let's be purposeful about it. And I say that over and over. We don't want to check the box. It's got to be who we are, and we don't want to let go of it. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate all those comments. Excellent. Anything else? So this is our update. I look forward to keeping the board updated. So we're headed into a really exciting time for the district. It's the springtime. We'll be doing superintendent evaluation. We've talked about board evaluation. We'll be doing some retreats, but I really look forward to launching, a reflection of our work and starting another strategic plan now with a new board, right? You're all going to be involved in some way, shape, or form. And 5 years ago, it was a very different board. So now we'll have your input. Like you'll be able to help set the next 5 years for the district. So I look forward to that work with all of you. Thank you, Sarah, Anthony, and Ann for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. You're welcome to stay. But thank you for your time, and thank you for your work on all of this.
Thank you.
And that concludes my superintendent report.
Thank you. Okay, so next item on the agenda is public comments for items that are on the agenda. So I don't know if anyone has comments that they would make at this time. Okay.
I'm sorry, Dan, can you go back to the YouTube so that we can see if there's any comments online?
Nope. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so next item is correspondence. We did receive one correspondence about the substitute teacher policy, and that is with the board. So our next item is going to get the board action. First item is approval of the administrative reports. We got three items, items 101 to 103. Can I get a motion and then a second for those three items?
I'll move, Ellen.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on that? Mr. Bowen?
Mrs. Cassidy,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes.
Mrs. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Rad,
Yes.
Mrs. DePinto,
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, the next item is approval of our minutes. We have two items, 201, 202. Can I get a motion and a second on those two items?
I'll move, Ellen.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on them? Yeah. Mr. Bowen?
Mrs. Cassidy,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes.
Mrs. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Rad,
Yes.
Mrs. DePinto,
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, now we're going to go into each of the committees. The first one is Finance and Facilities. We have 15 items, 301 through 315. And then we're also going to have a committee report, which I'll read out. So can I first get a motion and a second on those 15 items?
I'll move, Ellen.
Second.
Okay, all right, so I'll read out the committee report. So the committee met on April 2nd. The people that attended were Michelle, Paulo, myself, and Justina. Dr. Hart was there, as well as Jason, and Don Race from Facilities. The first item was health dental insurance for 25-26 school year. Jim Finn from Brown & Brown reviewed rate changes across the various insurance pools with the committee. The committee agreed to continue with SHIP as is and expand the offering to include Aetna as an additional coverage option for staff. The expected rate of health insurance renewal is 12.13%, which covers both SHIP and Aetna at the coverage and cost. Several benefits of SHIP were discussed, including that SHIP is one of the lowest cost pools over the past 5 to 7 years by significant margin, and that the district has a strong utilization ratio, experience rating, so there's a potential to reduce premiums over the long term. Express Scripts will continue to be the pharmacy plan at a rate of 4.7%. Prior issues with Express Scripts have primarily been resolved, with a few exceptions remaining. The committee agreed to continue dental coverage with Horizon as is, since Delta Dental and others would not be equal or better. The second item we discussed was the semi-corrective action plan. The committee acknowledged that the ongoing corrective action plan would be noted in the audit. The third item was Ryerson Road. The committee discussed the Ryerson Road property during the meeting. Fourth item was night custodial renewal. The committee endorsed a rate increase of 3% driven by inflation in order to retain the existing services and staff, which have been beneficial for the district. The next item was the Macio's Cafeteria Food Service renewal. The committee was informed that a 10-cent increase in menu prices would be incurred and a 2.5% contract increase. For budget, we discussed bank cap, which is bank capital for 26-27 is expected, which will assist in future budget needs. We also discussed the referendum communication guidelines. The committee was asked to review the referendum communication guidelines and will provide feedback. We reviewed the bill list that was available for review. The Sustainable New Jersey grant, the committee was informed that the district received a $2,000 grant for TBS from the Sustainable Jersey program. The grant will enable students to learn about safety in our local area. And our next meeting is planned for May 16th and then July 2nd. Are there any items for discussion on that? Okay, so
Mrs. Cassidy,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes.
Mrs. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Rad,
Yes.
Mrs. DePinto,
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo.
yes.
Passes.
Okay, next item is the Ed Tech. We have 5 items, 401 through 405. We're also going to have a committee report that's read out. Can I first get a motion and a second for items 401 through 405?
So move that.
Second?
Okay.
Yeah, the Ed Tech Committee met on March 28th. The first item we discussed was the preschool data presentation. Preschool coach coordinator, Mrs. DeQuisto, joined the meeting to present a report on preschool classrooms, enrollment, curriculum, analytics, and the newly implemented student assessment methods, which include My Teaching Strategies Gold, Creative Curriculum Fidelity Tool, Teapot, and ECHRS 3. The preschool program has seen tremendous growth, which initially included only one classroom, half day, and will be expanding to 16 classrooms full day, which is 240 students projected for the 25-26 school year. Mrs. DeQuisto discussed internal and state-required assessment methods to keep the program successful and compliant. The committee commended the hard work of the preschool team to provide such a tremendous learning experience for the littlest learners. Going forward, Dr. Hart will invite the preschool team to present assessment and analytical data at the October board meeting when the other statewide assessment data is presented. Next, we had a quarterly tech update. Mr. Belsky presented a quarterly tech update, which covered data privacy and security protocols to make sure our service providers are adequately protecting district data. Mr. Belsky also talked about two-factor authentication and how our district has implemented security measures that are dictated by the insurance company. Next, we talked about Hunterdon Central PSAT data presentation. Dr. Brown and Ms. Pouch reported on the most recent PSAT data that Hunterdon Central has shared with Reddington. The data shows what has been confirmed through other results. Reddington students are performing at the same level or above their peers from surrounding sending districts in both English language arts and math, as measured by the PSAT assessment. YMCA club enrollment. Dr. Hart reported on the enrollment for YMCA after-school clubs. Initially, these clubs were provided for free through ESSER federal funds, but once that funding expired, parents have been paying a fee to register for the club. Enrollment is not as high as when it was free, but the clubs are still well attended. The agenda items, field trips, fundraisers, and other typical agenda items, and we scheduled our next meeting for April 28th.
Thank you. Any discussion on the items? Good, Mr. Bowman?
Mrs. Cassidy,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes.
Mrs. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Brad,
Yes.
Mrs. DePinto,
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, the next item is communication. We are going to have committee report as well on that one. Current personnel. Before we do, let me just read out we have two, actually 9 motions, 5-1 through 5-9. Can I get a motion and a second on that?
Motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Karen?
We had a personal committee meeting on April 3rd, and topics included staffing updates for the current school year or next school year, non-tenured staff and non-certified staff. We also discussed administrative structure, non-aligned salaries, and other personnel matters. Agenda items included new hires, retirements, renewal contracts on April 29th. The next meeting was scheduled for April 25th.
Thank you. Any discussion items? Okay, Mr. Bowman?
Mrs. Cassidy,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes.
Mrs. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Brad,
Yes.
Mrs. DePinto,
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo.
Yes.
Passes.
Communications. We have 2 items, 601 through 602. Can I get a motion in a second?
I'll move, Ellen.
Second?
Okay.
Yep, the Policy and Communications Committee met on March 24th. The first thing we discussed was we reviewed the policy tracking document. The committee reviewed the timeline and process for the tracking document and provided feedback on how it is going. The committee agreed to review and discuss the policies in one section, make the necessary changes, and then bring them to the full board for first read before moving on to the next series of the manual.
We also discussed bringing certain policies to the appropriate committees for input on policies that pertain to their specialties. We then reviewed policies in Alert 234. Both policies will move forward to the full board for first read. The first one was policy 5111, eligibility of resident and non-resident students. This policy required updating in order to comply with the new statute NJSA 18A 38-3, which required tuition payment from parents of non-resident students. The new statute was inconsistent with non-resident students of teaching staff members and required some revisions. We revised our language to distinguish between non-resident teaching staff and non-resident non-teaching staff according to the new requirements. Both teaching staff and non-teaching staff who do not reside in the district will be permitted to enroll their children in the educational program of the school district with the payment of tuition if the child's educational program can be provided in the district. Adjustments were made to the entrance and exit dates of students who anticipate moving to and from the district to allow us to include them in our enrollment numbers and have them count in our NJSLA test scores. The next policy was policy 8500, food service. The Working Class Families Anti-Hunger Act has been revised. The revisions to the statutes include new terminology, expansion of income eligibility to qualify students for free meals, and additional parental notification of school meal information. Food service policies often undergo revisions when there is a new president or legislative action. This policy is mandated and must be adopted by the board if the district participates in the National School Lunch Program, as it is a United States Department of Agricultural audit requirement. The next item we discussed was the key communicators meeting. This meeting has been rescheduled for May 6th. Dr. Hart has received a positive response to his new invitation with many yes responses, including 2 8th grade civics students, and we are looking forward to having a great meeting. The following bylaws required further discussion after our last meeting when we reviewed the new policy tracking document. After our discussions, the committee made the following determinations. Bylaw 0155.01, board member participation of board meetings using electronic devices. The committee decided to abolish this policy that was implemented during COVID to allow for remote board meetings. Abolishing this policy means board members will attend all meetings in person with no remote login option available to them. Bylaw 0168, recording board meetings. The committee agreed that recording of committee meetings will not be allowed and that we will hold off on including the use of AI tools for taking minutes at this time. Bylaw 0169, board member use of electronic mail and internet. The committee agreed to add a paragraph to this policy instead of creating a separate policy to state that board members are to be guided by the Code of Ethics when it comes to social networking sites. Bylaw 0175, contracts with independent consultants. During our research on the bylaw section of the manual, we noticed that another district has a bylaw for contracts with independent consultants. After further discussion, the committee determined that it will be best to revisit this policy when we review the 6000 series of the policy manual to see where we can best incorporate this into one of our existing policies, since contract processes are strongly guided by purchasing regulations and are inclusive of vendors and independent consultants. The agenda items are 5111 and 8500. The next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 16th at 4 p.m.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I just have one thing. So for 6.01, the student use of wireless communication devices, including cell phones. First of all, I just was surprised that Mr. Peach was not here in the audience tonight to see that we finally passed the cell phone policy after many years of lobbying. But I just had a question, Dr. Hart, and how are we communicating that out to parents? I know that RMS had a survey that students and parents filled out, so they would be aware that we were evaluating this, but in terms of HBS or how that's going to be shared out to the parents, just curious.
We have a leadership meeting with all of the principals and the administrators coming up on this Thursday. This policy, because it's passing the board second read tonight, I plan to bring the policy to the full leadership team on Thursday, stating that it should go in a Genesis blast and then their newsletter to inform parents that this is a new policy that they should be abiding by, and it's got some language in there that they need to put directly into those blasts so that we can communicate with parents. I also think that the principals should bring the policy to their faculty meetings as well to make sure the faculty are aware of the policy too. We did agree as a committee that we wanted to implement the policy as is, and then if there's any issues that come from Mr. Charleston or even here at Hollenbrook, that we are open to revising it or looking into it over the course of the next year as well. So I'll inform them of that too. Yep, you're welcome.
Any other items for discussion? Good. Mr. Bowman?
Mrs. Cassidy,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes.
Mrs. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Rad,
Yes.
Mrs. Pinto,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay. Does any board member want to raise any unfinished business? Okay, so next item is new business from the board. Is any delegate reports? Okay. I know we have a committee meeting readout, so Paula, if you wanted to read that one out.
Green Committee met on April 3rd. And the strategic focus was for the 24-25 school year presentation by Mr. Bowman. The Green Committee aims to reduce environmental impact and enhance school sustainability during the 24-25 school year. Some of the items listed in the presentation are as follows. Sustainable New Jersey recertification, aiming to achieve silver status. Referendum project committee received board approval for sustainability projects, including HVAC upgrades, outdoor space enhancements, and LED lighting. Reduce waste, increase energy efficiency, enhance environmental education, and expand solar energy to all the schools. Adding solar to White House School and Three Bridges, also expanding on RMS and Hollywood will give us 100% electric independency, particularly in the summer. Current solar provides 35 to 40% of the school's electricity. The solar expansion will provide free electricity after 15 years, saving over $250,000. We spoke about improving health and wellness with the updated wellness policy. It was brought up that the school district has a new electric school bus. We spoke about the fourth grade field trip, which let's remember, how do I pronounce that? Lac Minor Trail, thank you. To learn about local plants, trees, and wildlife. Partnership with Scouts planting 19 trees around Hollowbrook Track with the help of Dr. Neil Hendrickson. Students went on field trips to learn about recycling, reusing, composting. We also worked with Masio's on obtaining local source food. RMS received a $10,000 grant for Eco Action News grant. School clubs, waste reduction. Also during professional development, food trucks were brought in to provide staff with lunch and reduce the environmental impact by having staff eat outside on a nice day instead of driving to lunch. Staff still had the option to go out to lunch if they desire. We also spoke about a $2,000 grant that Three Bridges partnership received partnership with Go Hunterton. It was to educate children on bicycle safety. And Betsy Freeman is recognized as a sustainable hero. Miss Betsy spoke on her students' work on inventions that monitor outdoor quality. Working with Monmouth University, and also Eric Zerling pointed out that the committee's foresight on solar in light of rising electricity costs. Eric also mentioned that we should add this information to the website. Steve Foster mentioned cooperation with the town led to successful results of the outdoor trip and wanted to say thank you. Neil was impressed by Betsy's students' help in protecting the environment resources. Mrs. Adhikari coordinated with Supervisor Sarah Pouch and the town to make an outdoor field trip happen and stated that students matched the standards of NJES Science Learning Outdoors. Pillar 2 was reduce environmental impacts and costs. We mentioned the referendum, Jason highlighted, referendum vote shall occur on Tuesday, November 4th. More communication and events forthcoming. Solar array expansion. Mr. Bowman stated district is waiting on JCP&L and BPU for authorization to proceed. Pillar 2, improve the health and wellness of schools, students, and staff. The NJSBA, a decade of progress. Dr. Hart highlighted an article from the NJSBA out of the 3 school districts mentioned, Reddington was one of them. Jody asked if we could promote this article in the Chronicle. Dr. Hart is looking to publish the article in the Superintendent Sentinel and other outlets. Pillar 3 was provide environmental education, STEM, civic skills, green career pathways, etc. HBS Scout Project, Jason wanted to thank Pamela, Dr. Moss, and Neil for helping and supporting the Scouts and planting the trees around the Hollywood track. The Scouts learned how to plant and create trees, care for trees, sorry. Eco Action News grant was updated, brief updated, provided by Betsy. Three Bridges School 2000 Sustainable Grant. Dr. Higgins are elaborating on the details of the 2001 grant and the partnership with Hunterdon. Trees for School grant. Mr. Bull mentioned that there is a grant by Sustainable New Jersey for tree planting. The grant is between $10,000 to $250,000 and includes 2 years of maintenance. Betsy spoke about looking at all 4 properties and devising a plan for a meadow to reduce mowing and incorporate tree planting. Jason also mentioned these goals are for next school year. Strategic focus brainstorming for 25-26 school year. Beth previously shared a draft Reddington Township Schools Climate Change Action Plan. The Sustainable New Jersey Trees for School grant was mentioned again. Referendum communication is shared as an idea for sustainability and wellness projects. Dr. Hart stated that the website will be redesigned, and when it does, we will look at the green site. Marlena Orlando mentioned interweaving tree planting with the type of trees to plant, the size that the hole needs to be dug, and the type of soil to add to the trees. Jody mentioned at her last environmental commission meeting that they focus on biodiversity, native plants, and trees. Air quality was also discussed. Neil mentioned that Betsy's student project on air quality could potentially feed data to the state EPA. He also discussed native versus non-native trees and how deer eat certain trees and plants, causing invasive trees to take over. Robert Becker spoke on how students could collect sap off trees at Three Bridges Learning Woods. Dr. Higgins would take a walk at Learning Woods Path and take a look. Ms. Adekari spoke on having a sitting area with wildflowers and rainwater collection at Hollenbrook. Mr. Zwerling, mentioned posting an article and more communication on the website. Then we spoke about unfinished and new business. There weren't any. 7, our next Green Committee shall meet in the summer of 2025 for strategic planning with administration and board members only.
Thank you.
So it's kind of long.
Yeah. Anyone have any discussion items on it?
I was just wondering if the board members could get a copy of the district's climate change action plan, because I've never seen that. Thank you.
It's sort of like a draft.
Okay.
Yes, but it's not, I wouldn't call it a plan. It was an example from another district that we just kind of are looking at, and we'll look at it in the summer, so
Okay.
happy to share, but
Yeah,
it's,
we can share.
we're not really following it yet.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pinto, I also think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think it's a place where we're storing and housing some of the things that have already happened as well. Like it's not all, yeah, like solar arrays, like, so it's not just what we plan to do, it's also memorializing what we've done, but we can share it too.
Okay, yeah,
So that you
thank
can
you.
see that.
Any other items to bring up? Okay, thank you, Kelly. The next item is the public forum for any items on or off the agenda. Anyone want to speak, come to the podium? Okay. Anyone online? Okay, so this is that. So next we're going to go to executive session. We have a motion to adopt the following resolution. Resolved to adjourn to executive session in accordance with the Sunshine Law to discuss HIVs and a legal update for approximately 30 minutes at which time the board expects to return to public section for action shall be taken. The matters discussed will be made public if and when the circumstances requiring confidentiality no longer exist. However, it is not potentially known when such circumstances will exist. Can we get a roll call vote?
David, I just want to point out, there's a misprint here. No action will be taken.
No action.
No action will be
Okay.
taken. Just want to make that clear.
So move that.
Second.
Mrs. Cassidy,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes.
Mrs. Pogorski,
Yes.
Ms. Rad,
Yes.
Mrs. Pinto,
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Stand up for a minute.
Yes.
Take a video.